Just to thank everybody for coming today to Ashton-in-Makerfield, not Wigan, Ashton-in-Makerfield. My name's Rob B, and the object today is to this is the first main event run by a loose collective of like-minded free people called the Dignity Alliance. We're encouraging everybody to get involved with this, take part in it, and let us develop the Dignity Alliance. Instead of standing as individuals, let's all get together and form our own form of union. The other side are protected by unions, we should be protected by a union as well. So the concept of the Dignity Alliance, which I've done in other presentations, is we are a union of the people. Okay, so you go into court, you've now got your union rep beside you. When you're writing letters, you can use your membership of Dignity Alliance to get their attention. So the concept today is something that's been at the top of my mind for a long time now, is fraudulent and dodgy court paperwork, and we've got some excellent speakers lined up for the rest of today who will give you specific cases and show you the actual evidence of this. We want to create something so we can build the alliance round and to get this information out there to the public. This isn't just talking heads and stuff off the internet, this is real world bits of paper evidence, and wake up the majority of British people to something really, really wrong, and we need to do something about it. Some of us are doing something about it, as a room full of people who will agree. There's a lot of people already doing something about it, but not enough. We need more people to go off their backsides, enough people to, excuse the colloquial terminology here, but to start giving a shit, right? Because things are going really badly wrong. And I'm sick and tired of hearing people saying, somebody needs to do something about this. Yeah, I'm really tired of hearing that. Who's going to do something about it? You're waiting for some guy in a white horse to come in and save the day. Is that what people are waiting for?
A white unicorn.
A white unicorn, yeah. Are they waiting for somebody to come in and save the day? Do you think voting for a politician is going to save? Do you think a politician is going to represent you? Do you think a politician is going to make the world a better place? I've lost interest in politics now. I still read in politics, and I used to vote. I no longer vote. I have no interest in politics at all, because I don't think any of the political parties represent we, the people. They represent their own private interests, and they represent the interests of the lobbyists and the backers. And they're all very corporatised now, and it just seems that they've lost the touch with our dignity, hence why we call it the Dignity Alliance. All these bodies now have lost touch with our inherent dignity as men and women, yeah. And I'm tired of being treated like some sort of corporate drone. You know, no, I'm a man. I hurt. I feel things. You know, I get frightened. I don't like courts. That's not a place where I belong. All this kind of stuff. You know, these guys are very good at intimidating us and have dragged us into this world where we really don't belong. So the concept today is to show there's two big issues facing this country. One is the law, and one is commerce or finance or economy. The mantra which I bring to the table here is, at the moment we have not got one law for everybody. Anyway, any fool reading, the latest tabloid can see we've got multiple tiers of justice in this country. There's justice for some, and yet it seems if you've got enough money or enough contacts, or if you're a celeb, you can do what you want. And some people, as we've seen with the paedophile rings that are acting within Westminster at the moment, this story's breaking, seem to be above the law. We've now got a story about Cyril Smith breaking, where the police were influenced by his political position to do nothing about it. And there's young laddies out there taking their own lives because of this bugger, right? Literally bugger. Yeah. No, I don't want to focus on the paedophile thing. I will mention the fact that Robert Greene is still in prison up in Scotland. With two of our guys in Scotland jailed on Wednesday. That's John and Croft. So well done, guys. John and Croft were jailed, apparently, for not giving the details to a policeman who refused to identify himself with the warrant card. So they get jailed, and it looks like they're going to be banged up for a month until such times as they identify themselves. I'm sorry, if a policeman comes up and asks you your identity, he needs, first of all, due cause to do that. He needs a reasonable suspicion to do that. And also he should identify himself first, surely. why is the policeman unwilling to identify himself? There's something really sneaky, there's something really dirty happening up in Scotland. But you know, so just a big shout out to the guys, John and Croft and Nala up in Scotland at the moment are in jail for just standing their ground. Yeah, not doing anything actually wrong, not haven't hurt anyone, but are banged up. And my sympathy goes out to Kath, and my heartfelt best wishes go out to Kath, who's suffering because she's lost a boyfriend at the moment. She's here on her own, absolutely terrified. Okay, so there's a big story building up north of the border, and there will be cases where these guys come out. We now have had enough of now being bullied. We're now going in the offensive, and I mean this in a peaceful way, a neutral way. We're now going in the offensive. They want to play in the courts. Okay, we've tried being reasonable with them, we've tried being nice with them. They're basically breaking the law themselves to get convictions in the courts, and we can do our hands up. I mean, I know for a fact that 2 council tax hearings, we'll talk about those during the day. It transpired I was found liable 3 days before the hearing. I mean, this doesn't happen in a country which is supposed to be governed by rule of law. We're either governed by one rule of law which governs everybody, or there's no law at all. And I would strongly argue with this multiple tiers of sort of justice we have at the moment, depending on how important you are, how well connected you are, that we have judicial anarchy. When you've got companies, when you meet someone who is getting jailed for, you know, a very small tax bill, and yet you get big corporations getting away with not paying a penny, or going in there and making an offer and getting accepted and doing private deals behind the scenes with a taxman, there's something really wrong there. We need one law, guys. We need a working democracy requires, first of all, a set of solid rules, right, which are acceptable to the people, and which we can all identify, which are simple enough we can all work with, and which everyone must comply with, top down. I don't care how high they are. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights says we're all free and equal in dignity and rights. We are all free and equal in dignity and rights. So at what point in the end does anyone have the authority to come in and say, I've got more dignity or more rights than you have? Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of human rights. Dignity and freedom's where I'm at, but let's play with the human rights as long as they're there. I don't think they're there much longer, because they're now a criminals charter. Now, I won't talk about my case. Neil, who later on will talk about my particular campaign I've been fighting myself, my good lady, been fighting for the last 2-3 years now. Locally in Ashton, the Wigan area, we've been swallowed up by, there's a lot happening behind the scenes that people are not aware of, and you won't read about it in the newspapers. And there's some real shenanigans happening behind the scenes. And when people talk about their council, do you really know what you're talking about now? Do you really know what you're talking about? I won't talk, so I won't say give too much away at the moment, but I've got evidence that there's at least 4 councils just in Wigan. There's 4 operations calling themselves the council, right? All doing different things, all with different authorities, all apparently the same thing until you do credit checks on them. Again, I won't burst Neil's bubble with that one. He'll talk about that later. And my question is, who's the actual council here? This is the first question asked. Who is the council? Where's your authority come from? Digging deeper, it transpired as a new, well, it's not new actually, it's been around since 1972, but there's a concerted campaign, undemocratic, that people don't know about it. We've been shoehorned in, bullied into doing it, and it's the concept of city regions. City states and city regions, and the government makes no secret of these city regions. You can actually read the reports now where they're extolling the virtues of city regions. Yeah. Now I don't care what the city regions are for. I don't care what they do. All I know is they're mired behind a whole smoke screen of secrecy, behind subterfuge, behind deceit. You can't get information on it. You ask information, and suddenly everybody goes dumb and knows nothing. You can't find out where the authority comes from. You find out, for particularly Greater Manchester's the pilot for the rest of the UK, by the way, and they're now trying to merge with Liverpool and create an even bigger city region. None of the people in the Greater Manchester Combined Authority Committee are directly elected for that position. It's much like Barroso over in Europe. He's indirectly elected. So we've got a chap here called Lord Peter Smith. Never met the guy, can't talk about him personally. But Lord Peter Smith is, he was elected as a councillor, and then he was subsequently appointed onto the board of Greater Manchester Combined Authority. We've no way of stacking these guys. How do I get, if this guy's not good at his job doing what he's doing, how can we get rid of these guys? And you can't get any information on them. You certainly can't get information in the finances. You try and get information in the finances, these guys. And my concern, as much as what happened in Ukraine, you end up with cities, these city regions, governed by small criminal gangs, criminal families and criminal gangs running these, because there's no transparency. Contrary to the Public Standards Committee guidelines, where they demand transparency and openness and fairness and impartiality, etc. There's no transparency. We don't know who these people are. They talk about the stakeholders and the private partners. Who are these people? You start digging for it. God, it's like dragging teeth trying to find out who the partners and stakeholders are. Yeah? We own Greater Manchester. We the people own Greater Manchester. Greater Manchester's run for us. It should be run by us. We've stood back and allowed these cabals, God knows who's pulling their chains, who's pulling their strings. We've got these cabals now taking over and now dictating to us. And I would suggest that Greater Manchester now is more of a threat dictatorship-wise than anything the Soviet Union had. This is real power, real power. My other half, she grew up, she was the last generation of proper Soviets, and she can't make it today, she's not feeling well, she'd maybe come in later on. And she'll happily stand up on stage and tell you now, as the proper last generation of flag-waving, marching communist, yeah, from the Soviet Union, that she had more freedom under the Soviet Union than she has in Britain today. And this is shocking, this is genuinely shocking. I've spoken to people from former Eastern Bloc countries and former Soviet countries, and they're all saying the same things. We've got more cameras now in Britain than any other country in the world. What are they so afraid of? So there's a whole system here. Now what my main concern, going back to the real world stuff, my main concern is insider dealing, corruption, fraud, theft, and a whole raft of other criminal activities, all been masked behind these new unelected bodies, secretive elected bodies, and also they now own the courts, they run the courts. The county courts and the magistrates courts are run by these authorities, they operate under the authority of these authorities. So if they're run by these small gangs and they run the courts, much as you're seeing in other countries like Ukraine and other countries, you've got to question are they applying the law, or are they using the courts now to enforce their policies on us? And I would strongly argue the courts now, certainly the lower tier courts, I think are a disgrace now, from my own personal experience, an absolute disgrace. They do not deliver justice. They're there to apply policy, to intimidate, to bully, to coerce, and put people in fear to comply with policy. This is this nudge carry-on that Cameron's talking about, the new communitarianism nudging, where they use judicial means and financial means and taxes and all the rest of the nonsense, you know, to nudge us into a certain behaviour. And this is behaviour modification, guys. That's what this is. And to think that our courts are actively engaged, whether they know it or not, is irrelevant. There's people in there who don't know until they meet me and other people here. They quickly find out when they bump into us guys. But you guys working in the courts, and certainly the lower tier courts, are actually engaged actively in behaviour modification. Think about what that means. You're not there delivering justice. You're actually involved in a political campaign to modify the behaviour of the very people you're supposed to be working for. Is there some? I mean, there's something really badly wrong. Really badly wrong. And they've done it in such a way, it's not as brutal as the Soviet Union where it's like, it's in your face. They've done it in a very sort of subversive, very quiet, very subtle, clever way they've got of doing it. And as we'll find out today, there's a very blurred line now between what is a court and what is a public or private body now, and what is the partners they work with, the customers. Courts have got customers now, yeah, and shareholders and stakeholders, right? These independent, impartial courts that were all guaranteed under Constitution, British Constitution, and also under the human rights. We're guaranteed impartial and fair hearings. How can we get that if the courts themselves are sitting down with their customers decide how they can best deliver services to customers. These customers being utility companies, the customers being big users of them, utility companies, bailiff companies, local authorities, regional authorities, and European Union obviously in there as well. How many of us are sitting in these customer committees? None of us get invited to sit in these customer committees. We need to get on these committees, guys, and this is one of the things that the Alliance will push for. We need to get on these committees. We need to go in there and tell them, no, enough, no. I don't care what your big rich utility company friends say. We don't care if the council's needing more liability orders processed under one document. We don't care about that stuff, right? We want nothing more than just justice. Reading a good book at the moment by a chap called Will Hutton. Will Hutton he wrote for the Observer. I'm not. We differ on a lot of the political views, myself and Will Hutton. You know, he's a far more intelligent man than I am. But we differ on political views. But however, it's interesting reading a book by Will Hutton about why Britain needs why Britain needs a fairer system, whatever it was called. Sorry. And a couple of days ago, stumbled in the passage and he starts talking about the judicial process. And we're saying the same things. He comes from one end of the spectrum, the sort of social spectrum. We work for the Labour parties and advisor, etc. I'm more libertarian in my views, more individualist in my views, but we share the same views. Without a court system, a justice system which is delivering fairness, honesty, transparency, impartiality, you're going to have civil unrest in this country. You will have civil unrest, and this is Will Hutton saying this as well as I'm saying it. I don't wish it to happen. So what the Dignity Alliance is trying to do is not to stir up trouble. We don't want to stir up trouble, right? What we want to do is highlight there's a huge problem which will end up in open revolt in this country very soon, unless the good people left within the system are willing to step out of line, work with us, and let's fix it before it falls apart, okay? That's what we're looking for. There is a lot of good people within the system, we know that, right? At the moment they're terrified. Whistleblowers are getting absolutely shafted for whistleblowing. We need protection for whistleblowers. We need these guys to come out and be congratulated for stepping out of line and speaking and saying their piece, yeah? Not scared off so they run. I've been engaged with some conversations with a lady called Annie Mashin, you know as Mackin, but Annie Mashin. And this was the MI5 whistleblower back in the 90s, the early 90s. And she had to run, leave the country, terrified. Why should she run? We need whistleblowers, we need more whistleblowers, we need protection for whistleblowers. So as the Alliance builds, we want to be able to offer that protection for whistleblowers. Join us, we'll protect you. Yeah, we'll form a line between you and whoever it is that's trying to get you. This is what we need more people on board with. So even if people aren't interested in the court stuff, if people aren't interested in getting involved in the political side of things or the campaign side of things, just stand with us, guys. Protect the good people out there. We need more good people out there standing there and protecting the good people within the system who at the moment feel they've no friends out here, that they're vulnerable out here. They need to know there's a whole army of people out here willing to stand by them, willing to protect them, willing to give them shelter, willing to give them protection, right? This is one of the things we will be building quickly. So there's no excuse for anyone out there. Oh, I'm too busy, or you know, I don't do politics, or well, you know, I don't understand this stuff, and all these usual nonsense excuses you get. Everything that's happening affects everybody's lives. The least you can do is just to sign up, get involved, just to say, I will write to my MP to support that whistleblower, or I'll bother to go off my backside and stop watching X Factor for 5 minutes to get on the phone and phone up the police to complain that this whistleblower's getting intimidated. There's a whole raft of things people can do, which don't mean taking risks, which doesn't mean getting into court and facing down these judges and getting involved with the police or anything. We want peaceful repairs. We want to fix things, yeah. So this is the sort of bigger picture of what we're trying to do with the Dignity Alliance. But behind all that is we need the justice system fixed. I read a report 2 years ago from the Ministry of Justice, and it said in it quite clearly, if the justice system ever loses the confidence of the public, there is no functioning justice system. I would say we're not far from that at the moment. Genuinely say we're not far from that at the moment. People no longer look to the courts where we're going to get justice. People now fear the courts. My own experience is every single court experience I've had has been absolutely intimidating, all because I'm not a criminal. I've never broke the law in my life. Small things. I'm not a bad guy. I don't think. Certainly, my wife isn't. And yet we go to court and we're getting surrounded by police. My first visit, 16 armed. They called the armed response unit. It was 16 armed policemen to my first court appearance. We went there peacefully just to argue a case. In the court, they surrounded us in the court, growling and filming our cameras right in our faces, and you're like, this isn't how a justice system's supposed to work. So the justice system not only needs to be seen, not only needs to be fair and impartial, it needs to be seen to be working for us, and at the moment it isn't. Okay, certainly there's a whole collusion with the court system, certainly the lower tier system. I've no experience at higher levels yet. People who will be speaking later on will, but certainly at the lower tiers, I would argue strongly the lower tier courts no longer working for us, they're working for the corporate partners. Full stop, end of story. That's my personal experience. I've had nothing yet to counter that opinion. So on that basis, we just want to bring this into the public, get people aware of this, give people something solid, evidence that you can now form around. It's not just talking heads on the internet, you know, some guy on the internet told me, or I read this on some internet forum. This is real world, guys. We're going to bring you some excellent speakers today who, thanks for coming from all over the country, right? Who have been involved in the various campaigns, the various subjects they work on, and do some sterling work. We're bringing these to you today to show you this is fact. It isn't just me talking. This is fact. This is happening, right? And it's people making a stand, okay, and taking risks and making a stand against these people. And we need to do it. We need to encourage the good people from within the system to step out and say, we're going to work with you guys, because what you're doing is right. It's for the good, yeah. And the bad guys, we will take the appropriate peaceful action through the courts to remove the bad guys. There's a case in Philadelphia, a cop watch, and I've only read from what I've read on it, so I don't know the intimate details, but I do understand that at one time the police in Philadelphia were brutal thugs, yeah, and there's adequate evidence of this. And this shows what people power can do. And crime was through the roof. The police, undeniably, were heavily involved in the criminal gangs. We're actually running the criminal gangs. We're actually part of the criminal gangs. The criminals were part of the police. Cop Watch started a local initiative, and people got together, just wore a t-shirt, Cop Watch, with a camera, and were filming. Every time the police were called out, two guys were sitting in the car, and on the police radio they'd attend every police situation, and they filmed it. At first a few of them were slapped around and beaten up and threatened, but as time went on, one by one they got rid of the bad apples at the police force, one by one, right? And it got to a stage, I think it was 2 years later, crime had dropped by 40% in Philadelphia by getting rid of these bad policemen. The good policemen came out, were shaking their hands, thank you, because we couldn't do anything within the system. We couldn't take on the bad guys within the system. It was only because members of the public, unpaid, volunteers, members of the public, giving a shit and getting out there and doing something peaceful, yeah? Just standing with a video recorder and getting rid of the bad policemen, one by one, they affected change. And I'm not saying Philadelphia is like, you know, it's a Garden of Eden, by no means, but certainly the reduction in crime alone, people are reporting it's now safer to walk in the streets. They can now trust the policeman, whereas a policeman before was likely to gun you down. They can now trust the policeman, and it's moving on, but you can see what community initiatives have done. What's that one over in that other chart?
CELDF.
Yeah,
Community Environment Legal Defence Fund.
This is another American initiative, the Community Environmental Legal Defence Fund. Again, this is just people, you and me, just individuals have got together, learned the law, right? We were realising the power that we have, right? These guys have done the same, right? And what they've actively done, they get involved in the local authorities. They've realised the whole national government thing's a smokescreen. The real power that we have is at local level. So what these guys have done is we will be doing with the Alliance, as we are doing, is getting involved in local politics. You look at the constitution, we're here in Ashton-in-Makerfield, up in Red Rose country, or the Yorkshire guys booing. You read the council constitution, and basically it says the citizens and their rights. There's a section in the constitution, and basically you've got the right to do what you're told. For 2 weeks a year, you've got the right to go in and see some of the accounts. That's it. That's all the rights the council grants us, deems to grant us in their eternal sense of self-importance. They work for us. Why are they dictating to us what our rights are? So these guys in the States have done, I think it's a superb campaign. I know that Dave O'Vere's doing, actually started in Bolton Council at the moment. We will be doing this across the councils. We need to start changing the council constitutions and telling them this is the rights we have. I want this written into the constitution, not the constitution you give us. This is the way we want our rights. I want the right to this, we want the right to that, we want the right to that. How we do that is we start raising petitions, we start involving meetings, we start standing in the streets. None of this internet stuff. Go off the internet, boots on the ground, stand there and get people, I think, yes, it's correct, yes, well, do you want this right? Yes, well, sign here. Write to your local councillor, get your local councillor champion that right. We need these rights included in the constitution. So if we can start rewriting these council constitutions, we can start overturning a lot of planning applications. We can start getting them to treat us better. Big one that I'm focusing on is anti-bullying policies, because you look at these guys, ask them for a copy of their anti-bullying policy, and you'll find it's all about protecting children and vulnerable people and employees from us. Well, I thought under human rights we're all free and equal. We're all the same rights. Apparently not if you're a council employee. Apparently as a council employee, in the constitution they've got more rights than us. Where does it say in any of these documents that the public have got a right to be defended against bullying by council employees? I'm just talking local authorities here, but this is all of these agencies and these bodies, yeah? Where does it say that we don't have the right to be protected against bullying and threats by these guys? We do. Bullying is a brutal assault on our dignity. It can destroy lives, especially if there's vulnerable people. It can really affect people. And these guys are relentless, and we'll go into the bailiffs, and we'll talk about this later on as well. These guys, it's a relentless assault of bullying on good people. If somebody's been a bad guy, that's fair enough, but it's good people they focus on. These guys are cowards. They tend to go for these targets. Yeah? We need to stop the bullying guys. You know, if they won't protect you from bullying from us, well, we won't protect you from bullying from them. This is one of the things that needs to go in the council constitution, right? We need as much protection from bullying as their employees do, and as the children in the schools do. So this is easy stuff. Who's going to argue against this? Is what I'm saying not reasonable? Isn't it? Is what I'm saying not everything should happen? Should that not already be in there? So this is stuff we can push at a local level. So what we're looking at doing is creating branches all over the country. We need people involved. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. It'll never happen, right? We need somebody to go up and say, I'm going to start a local branch, a local meet. You don't have to be directly working with us, but you can be affiliated with us. We help you do it. We'll send down speakers. We'll help you get set up. If you get more than 3 or 4 friends who are interested in freedom and the free man movement and the law and setting your rights and all this good stuff, yeah, don't wait for a politician to come in and say that. It's not going to happen. Go off your bum. Go to a local public we have here. Just you can borrow the room once a week. Put a little advert out, spread the word round. There's a good network in the UK. You know, people know about each other. Get local people involved. It's amazing what comes through the door, how many good people come through the door, and some of the sad stories that come through the door as well. People needing help, and there's lots of them, which we'll be talking about shortly. But set up your local meet guys, right? Work with us. Start defending people in court, start learning a bit about the law, start learning about rights, start asserting your authority. We are the authority in this country. It's under our authority, all these guys are doing what they're doing. But then we're not telling them what to do. We're politely asking them, begging them, pleading them. You know, except if they say we're doing this, okay. People have been afraid, we've all been subject to this conditioning, this psychological conditioning. We need to just turn around now, nicely, politely, maturely, as adults, and say, actually, no, this is how it's going to work, guys. Right? 51% of the local people have signed a petition to say we want the right to have the same protection against bullying as your employees have. What's the council going to do with that? What's the utility company going to do with that? How's the bailiffs going to act on that? You've now got the democratic mandate, haven't you? So, you know, so it's serve your local mates, start educating yourselves, don't worry too much what's on the internet. We want to bring in people here, and this is solid information we're bringing out there, none of the pie in the sky stuff, right? We want doers, not talkers. People are organisers, there's going to be no stigma attached, there's no politics, we're not non-partisan, we don't stand for, I mean, as I'm saying, I'm happy to, anyone who comes into the Dignity Alliance, as long as they're coming in for the right reasons, not trying to subvert what we're doing to their own political ends. You don't want to do that, right? Seriously, don't want to do that. If they're coming in for the right reasons, to do good, right? To work with other people, and to reason and compromise, and to work with other people and find common ground, which we might disagree about the stuff on the outside, but I think everybody in this country, as I found it from me and Will Hutton, we can agree on basic principles of what we're all looking for. Stop getting diverted into these extreme arguments. Let's focus on the main stuff we're after. And I'd say, first of all, we need to sort out the judicial system, get it back working for us. Secondly, the commercial side of things, and this will be the subject of future events, where we start digging deep into the finances. And that's where the real story lies, yeah? But if we've got the law sorted out first, we've now got judges, and we've now got the courts, we've now got the process working for us and acting fairly and delivering impartial and fair justice, that's our 70%. I think if people would agree, we're 70% there. Yeah? All we need to do then is just sort out who polices the police and the commercial side. And one question that I keep getting asked time and time again is, why is there no bankers in jail? Okay, this is an evidence of the multiple tiers of justice we've got. How many bankers apparently are too important to jail? I'm sorry, you broke the law. Deal with it. I don't care. You broke the law. You're engaged, you still are engaged in open fraud, a lot of them. There's a lot of good bankers, there's some good people out there involved in the banking system, let's not decry them all, but there are some absolute scumbags, and it attracts the worst type of people, and the criminal type of people, and the psychopaths, and we all know all this. They break the law, you go to jail. We've had a lady just done there for fiddling expenses, not from Burnley or something, not far from here, 34 grand or something, she screwed the rest of us for claiming benefits and she wasn't entitled to it. And they've given her a few months in jail and she's got like 70 odd years to pay it back. Where's the deterrent there? So again, the justice is, we're not asking to go gentle with us. If someone genuinely has broken the law, we need proper punishment in there. Yeah, so I mean, we need a more balanced justice system here, which works for the people and listens to the people, not Europe, not the European court, not Europe and all the fiddling that's going on here. We need a justice system that comes back and works for us.